Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this Transcribing Tagbanwa workshop. It's one event in the Mapping Project's In Conversation series. The series consists of co-curated interactions between digital objects and cultural bearers, curators, activists, and artists. So as project head for the mapping project, we are committed to an interdisciplinary exploration of the items in the global inventory. And are always seeking to create avenues for dialogue, for knowledge exchange, co-curation, and digital repatriation. So I was very happy when Sonia of the RJM in Cologne emailed me to ask about the transcriptions on a bamboo tube that they have kept in storage since 1906. This question, along with other kind of hot button issues like the use of pan-regional kind of derogatory terms in the catalog, or even just looking up ethno-linguistic terms for the objects, began a relationship of mutual respect and fruitful collaboration. So one such collaboration is this in conversation of transcribing this bamboo tube. So as running order for the day, we will begin, Sonia will begin with an introduction to the Philippine collection at the RJM, and specifically the provenance of the bamboo tube. And then just to introduce Sonia, Sonia Moore studied cultural anthropology, Indonesian philology, and musicology at the University of Cologne in Germany. She has been coordinating provenance research at the RJM since 2017 and has been head of collections for Insular Southeast Asia since 2018. Now, right after Sonia, we will then go into the workshop proper with Myfel. To introduce Myfel, he is an associate professor of the Department of Social Sciences at the University of the Philippines in Mindanao, where he teaches anthropology and other social science subjects. He was an Asian Public Intellectuals Fellow under the Nippon Foundation, and he is presently doing his PhD studies on Manobo epic narratives at the University of Leiden in the Netherlands. So again, the running order will be Sonia and then Myfel with a brief introduction to the transcription, to the script itself, the Tagbanwa script, and then we will follow with the bulk of the workshop will be an interactive analysis of the inscription. And for those who are with us, feel free during the interactive workshop to jump in, ask questions, contribute, maybe even contradict Myfel. But yes, it'll be kind of really be informal and really just a collaboration. Before we go on to Sonia, I just wanted to say hello to James Gonzalez, who is from Palawan, who sort of started this whole digging into. We started in Mindoro because well, Sonia will explain more, but yes, James Gonzalez is from Palawan and is here with us today. So yes, let's begin and start with Sonia.
Thank you very much, Christina. I will keep it very short because I guess we are all excited to look into the actual object and the script on it. I don't want to miss out on thanking everyone involved for making this great project for mapping Philippine material culture happen. And I would also like to thank everybody for opening up the opportunity to include the Rautenstrauch-Jost Museum's collection in this wonderful project. And last but not least, also, of course, thank you to Christina for the wonderful working together and for setting up and inviting me to this workshop today. I'm very much looking forward to the conversation about this specific object because as you might have heard from my studies, I'm not an expert on the Philippines. And also in the museum, Indonesia is my focus. So I have still a lot to learn, and I'm very much looking forward to that, and also hopefully further conversations. Yeah, so being part of this online project and all the conversations developing from it is a very important step for the Rautenstrauch-Jost Museum towards more transparency regarding the museum's holdings from the Philippines. And specifically, as we don't have an online collection yet, it is so important for us. So we very much appreciate that the holdings of the museum are now much more widely available, visible, accessible, at least to everyone with a functioning internet connection. So this workshop is the first and definitely, I hope, not the last opportunity to very closely discuss the different levels of meaning of an object in the collections of the museum. And it is important for us to open up such conversations on the museum's holdings with people from countries and communities of origin, with diaspora groups, activists, artists, and scholars, because there is a lot of questions to answer. Like what meanings do different objects have, maybe also to different groups, interest groups. Shall the object stay in the museum? And if so, are there specific requirements how to deal with the objects? And if they shall not stay in the museum, where shall they go instead? And there are, some of the questions we are trying to answer. On the website, you find a brief overview on the roundabout 370 objects in the Rautenstrauch-Jost Museum's depot from the Philippines. Today, I will, to keep it short, just give a brief overview on the provenance or what we know about the bamboo tube we are going to discuss today. So when you look into the museum's archives and database, you get very little information actually on this specific object. So we learned that the tube was added to the collection in 1906, like Christina already mentioned. And it means that it definitely was made and collected during colonial times. It was brought to the museum by a man called Georg Küpperslosen. He was a Cologne entrepreneur and traveler, and he most likely brought this tube from his travels, but we don't have any information on where exactly he went in the Philippines and how he, like in which modes he actually acquired objects in situ. So our inventory book, back from the time when the object entered the museum collection, attributes the tube to Mangyan on Mindoro. And that's what Christina already indicated. That's what we started from, thinking we are talking about a totally different region, and that's why also a totally different script. The same information is also noted on the inventory cards in the museum. And this specific object collected by Küpperslosen came with a lot of other objects into the collection. And for every lot, we keep a file with documents that that came to the museum with the object. But in this specific case, in this file, there is no further information on the bamboo tube. Like there's a lot of conversation and everything, but nothing specific on the bamboo tube. So how did the information of Mangyan on Mindoro get into our records? Did Küpperslosen go to Mindoro, for example, and that is why he thought it was from there? Or did he acquire the tube somewhere else in the Philippines, maybe via a trader or an ethnographic art dealer? And did this person he maybe got the tube from know the script on the tube and give a correct information, but maybe Küpperslosen made a mistake when he noted the information? So we have no answers to all these questions. And it seems that for the last round about 100 years, no one really looked into it either, because nowadays in our database, we still have the same information as in the inventory book. So we still have this information, Mangyan and Mindoro. Yeah, so we that's what we're trying to clarify now for this specific object, and hopefully also in the future for other objects. Someone also put the German word Zauber with a question mark into our database. That's an information that has never been in the records before. It just appears in our digital database. The word is a little bit like on its own and without a context, a bit tricky to interpret, because I mean, basically it asks whether it might be an object used for doing magic. So it could be the question if it is a charm or a spell, if it is benevolent or malevolent. Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not noted who made this remark in our database, when and why. So did the person research on similar items in the Philippines and find this information? Or maybe did he or she look into information on other regions and find something similar in other regions and thought maybe this could be the meaning of the tube in the Philippines as well? And it's the same here. We absolutely don't know. We have no idea why someone wondered if it was an object for doing magic. So as you see, there are a lot more questions than we have answers. And I hope we will get a little bit closer to some of those answers today in the workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonia. So, Myfel, we can go ahead.
Okay. Acknowledge ko pala, Sir Ricky Nolasco is here. Okay, there are three things that I would like to share. But the first thing would be on simply the brief introduction to the Tagbanwa script. And then secondly, late after this segment, I will try to share what we have read so far, what is it saying, and then what we think about this object with script. Okay, first of all, I actually printed this one so that there are 10 attendees. You can directly see it. If you hold it, you will see the text flowing from the direction actually of, so this is the first information, very important, the direction of the writing. No? We have two sources that are very close to the date 1906 when the object was acquired. So maybe plus or minus 1 decade, or maybe minus 1 decade, maybe you go backward in the turn of the century. Maybe this object, if it's true, that this was really taken from the Philippines. I don't doubt the way I look at it. So maybe at the turn of the 20th century, this object was functioning in the specific location where it was found. So we don't know where it is yet. But if you look at the two sources that we have so far, 1887 by Alfred Marche, he has a very good description of the shapes of the script. And then in 1914, there is an even better description and presentation. There's a table, you can see it, by Norberto Romualdez, that is 1914. So the object that we are concerned here, this one, is fits into that period from 1880s to 1914. And if you look at Norberto Romualdez' descriptions, he actually integrated into his lining up of the script some reforms that he tried to invent to correct the script. And the script that you can see here in the bamboo belongs more to the earlier pre-reformed area. So it's closer to the description of the shapes given by Alfred Marche. Let me share to you my screen, so more or less. Host disabled participant screen sharing. I cannot share my screen, Christina. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. Ah.
Can you share now?
Let's see. Oh yeah. Let's start with this. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I will just explain this one character, data. I think among Filipinos, they are more familiar with the Tagalog baybayin. So this is the shape of the ta. And let's compare it with the shape that we find in the bamboo. But first, this character, this is that included in Alfred Marsh in 1887. And this is the ta as you see in the depiction very close to that of Romualdez. And this is the ta, I am pointing at my cursor. This is the ta that is documented by Nicole Revel for Southern Palawan. No, it's a bit tilted or diagonal. Nicole Revel mentioned in his work, in her work, that this Southern Palawan group borrowed or loaned the script from the Tagbanwa of the Central Palawan. So imagine Palawan as this long island. You can divide it into ethno-linguistically into three broad groups: Northern Palawan, the Calamnian and others, and then the Central, and then the Southern. No? So both the Northern and the Central are covered by this name Tagbanwa. No? The Southern part, which Nicole Revel studied, is the Palawan group. So this is how it's shaped when they borrowed it, and they call it Surat Arborlan. And then this is the character of Ta when Norberto Romualdez formalized it. And these two, this one first, more recent by Omniglot, a more popularized version. And then this one you see in the Wikipedia with extra curling. Okay, so the description that it is more or less in the nearest to the time of the 1900s is of course by Marche. And Alfred Marche is explicitly mentioned the direction of the writing, which is if you look at the transformation, it's sort of rotated when the medium was transferred into paper. So here is the period when we are now using the script in the medium of the paper, and here is the script when it was still embedded in the bamboo tube. So as you can see, that's why I printed it here. It's very important not to detach the script from its embeddedness on the object. No, the direction of the writing is from bottom up, and then bottom up, and then you go from left to right. And then when it was transferred into, like that of the Palawan group that Nicole Revel studied, they are now using a paper with lines. So they're following the direction of the line, so it's more horizontal. But what is interesting is that they looked at the script like an image, because even though you can see it like that or you see it like this, they would still read it in the proper direction. No? So readable. And it's not that you are corrected that you have to read it this way or that way. No? There are many anthropologists who notice that among Hanunoo and other ethno-linguistic group, when they adjusted from their old script to the new script, Latinized, sometimes they also rotate the handling of the book. No? So that's one. I'm particularly focusing only on this, so to save time, on this character ta, because it gives us an idea on what happened. So that's the first that we can see, the transition from embeddedness on a bamboo, which is the most common thing used, to the paper or a book-related culture. Now, if you look at this, so this is the one that the shape of the ta when Marche documented it. This is the shape of the ta when Romualdez documented it some decades later on the same site, no? In the Puerto Princesa and in the Arborland area. No? So basically, Marche and Romualdez got the sample character from the same pool, no? Central Palawan. So what do you see here in the bamboo that you have for ta? Quite similar, but with a certain excess of the zig, no? So like you have like the W shape, and then the curly tail. There is also a tail here for Marsh's specimen sample, and there is a tail here that is very curly for Romualdez. And this is fairly consistent, the extra line here. So you can see that there's some variance, no? So if there is a living community wherein this bamboo tube was located, I would assume that it's a bit different from that of the pool wherein the samples from Romualdez and from Marche was taken. The ta is important because of all the other characters, very few are different from many other Baybayin regional variants that we can see. This is the book by Alfred Marche, 1887. This is the book by Romualdez, 1914. Okay, so I have a map here. This is precisely the area of Puerto Princesa and the Arborland area, Central Palawan. What we are seeing is within the limited dictionaries that we check to fit the sequence of the syllables that we can read, I would locate the language somewhere here. Okay, so the implication of that will be discussed later when we do into the reading. And I mentioned the study of Nicole Revel. It is on this area. Okay, these are the pictures from the time when Alfred Marche went into the location where he got the sample scripts. Actually, it's just a footnote of a thick book, which is more on the other things other than writing, ethnographic and natural history. This is very interesting because he was able to document a ritual and participated in the ritual on the way they relate to the god of the sea. Okay, so this is now the comparison. Okay, so of the 16 characters, which is documented by Alfred Marche, Marcela E. Martin in 1895, and also by Romualdez. Basically, I did not dwell on Marcela E. Martin because he more or less repeated the information from Marche, except for this character here. No, these are the only characters that differed. Okay, so basically you have you're working with the two data. If you line up all the characters that you can find in the bamboo tube, you will have a representation of 11 characters. So this one, ga, nga, and then the ta. No, there are 3 ta. There's so many ka. And then there is one pa, there are 6 ba, very common, 2 ma, 2 characters of ya, 1 la, 1 wa, and then 1 sa. Okay, I just included here the sample shapes from Nicole Revel for comparison, because when the Palawan group borrowed from the Tagbanwa, no, it was pronounced Tagbanwa in the central Tagbanwa area, she noticed that they also modified it a bit, but more or less it's working within the same like species of writing. Okay, so in so this is the bamboo. So if you, so basically it's an easy task if you just ask how do you check the syllables that are sequenced in that vertical line. You just match it with what you see from the data that we have as reported by Marci and by Romualdez. I'm just sharing this in order to show the actual report, like 3 pages in the book by Marci, when he gave an example on the directionality of the writing and the problem with the Baybayin script, wherein you have this, like there is, if you have a word you want to write inum, okay, you will have to use only 2 characters, and you put a sign left or right to suggest I or O. No? So basically, the readers of Ino will be the one to supply the M, the missing M, because they know the style of reading it as Inum. No? The contextual clue and others. And then you have this interesting data from Marci, which will have an implication later on how we read tabawa in the bamboo object. Because according to Marci, when the central Tagbanwa people write their own name, they only write Tabanu, and they will pronounce it as Tagbanwa. In other words, the tabawa that that you can see in this bamboo tube, which for us, Aya and me, would we will be reading it as like Tagbanwa. It might suggest that it's really from a different place. Or it might also suggest that we are wrong in reading it as Tagbanwa. So that is the 2 possibilities. But the Tabawa sequence in the tube, no, cannot anymore be read as Tagbanwa for the name of the group, because we have a data that during this time, the central Tagbanwa people writes Tagbanwa as Tabanu. So this is one of the constraints when you look at this sequence of characters. Okay, so more or less, I'll share another screen. Sorry. Okay, so so that we'll not anymore be constrained by, we already know that it's supposed to be read vertically. So let's just read it in the way that we are familiar, which is from left to right. It works the same, no? So if you check, no, the letters or the characters one by one. No? So you can see here that there is a ka there, there's a wa, no? There's a ya, and so on. So
Sorry,
at least,
Myfel.
hello?
Are you sharing the we don't see your screen.
Oh, sorry.
Are you looking at the PDF?
I'm looking at the PDF. I have
Which one do you
to.
need? This one?
Yeah, this one, the
Yeah.
PDF.
Yeah, just put that up. Can you see it now?
Can you
Ah,
see it now?
yes.
Ah,
Yes,
sorry.
that's
I was
okay.
not able to.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so again, this is ka. Yeah, that one. The wa, ya, and so on. No, I already mentioned the case of ta. No, here. No, the ta. Also the ta here. No, and then another ta here. I was looking at this ta. So there are 3 tas. The first ta actually maybe we can elaborate this later in a more specific nitty-gritty aspect of this. But if you zoom in on the photo that is provided, I think the writer like faltered in writing the W shape, so he added it because there is no other similar shape like this in any of the one listed by Marcia or by Romualdez. If you look at it that way, na this is another character. So this should be ta, no? So more or less, let's look at the strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no? Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, so of the more problematic one, that is the only thing that I can see. And this one, the nga, this one like a ribbon, I explained it later in this paper. We have a formal paper by I. Maybe we can share it later for those who are interested. This one is actually a made-up character by Romualdez. No, the real character, if you check even in the second or third page of Romualdez, you will see that it's also shaped like this. So don't follow the actual table provided by Romualdez. If you check his book, or you just go directly to the shapes provided by Alfred Marcia. But anyway, if you want a cleaner presentation of the code where you will compare the script in the bamboo tube, it's the one provided by Romualdez is really easy to check. So more or less, if you have other questions, the idea here is just to have a corresponding alphabetical form of the characters that you see in Abugida style or the syllabary type. So you can see kawaya pa, kakuliba. Yes, Sir Ricky is raising his hand. Sige daw, Sir Ricky.
Sige, Sir Ricky.
Walay vowel initial syllables?
Meron, sir. Ito yung this you can see the arrow. If the arrow should be like this. If the arrow is put on the left, no, it's E, I. If it's put on the right, it's U. So here it will be like the lower and then the upper. So yun yun, Sir Ricky. No? So this one
it
is
still starts with a consonant. Tama?
Yes, sir.
Oo,
Yeah.
pero ang sinasabi ko, di ba, A, I, U. Can you show me a vowel initial symbol in the tube? O wala?
Wala.
Wala.
The use
Yung example mo, aldaw. Di ba yung
wala,
aldaw?
basically, okay, so maybe we go to the groupings, no? There in the script of the Tagbanwa, no, listed by Marcia and by Romualdez. Of course, you have all these. You can see the vowels. Nakita mo sa Ricky to, no? A, E, I, and OU.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, they are not used in the bamboo.
Wala.
Wala. Oh. So not once. So all of them are consonants.
So are there any implications to that, Myfel? Or
Wala naman ako nakikita. I don't know with Sir Ricky. I think we
Meron.
have.
Very important yon.
Oh.
Kasi no syllable starts with a vowel. Yan walang syllable even in all the scripts. Kasi yung
aldaw na pinakita. Oh, glottal stop. Oh, pero hindi na re-reflect eh, no? Walang reflection sa character.
What I'm saying is reflected nga yon. Yun yung representation ng glottal stop.
Yung a.
So, yung a, yung i at saka u, may glottal stop yon lagi.
So basically, but reading na yan dito, sir. Kumbaga, i-built-in mo na when you see the character like this that it has already a glottal stop, right?
Tama. So I'm saying mali na kaagad yung analysis. So even halimbawa may yung aldaw will always be represented by a vowel. Kasi yun yung ano nila yun yung tingin nila. Pero pag tinignan mo, pag binibigkas yan, if there's a glottal stop within the word, no, that will always be pronounced. That's what I'm saying.
Tama, sir. I'm just focusing on the character, and then when you transcribe it, siguro nga we start to correct the transcription na included na kaagad ang glottal stop in these characters. Okay, so so far, if I translate Sariki Nolasco in this flow that we have, we are trying to match the character into alphabetic form. So we don't see represented in the bamboo these three vowels, no? These three forms. No? We only have all these consonants. No? So the second thing that we have to check is how do we group them? No, in the Tagalog baybayin, but we don't anymore have the data we have at the earliest is already embedded in books. No, so more or less this object that we have here is quite interesting because it's maybe one of the earliest preserved objects that we have, wherein we can directly see our script embedded in a non-book form. And there is no word separator or phrase separator that we can see here. No? There is also no report from Marcia and from Romualdez that the Tagbanwa people use danda separator, but they can read it directly. So how are they reading it? No, now when I was first given this photo by Christina, because I was familiar with the measurement coming from the epic, precise lines measured by syllables. And even if you slash the last syllable, the hearer of the Manobo epic will fill it up, and they can directly check what is the proper word. No, they even have a term for that, where the style wherein the chanter will just like drop off the last syllable just to check if the hearer can really understand, even if you distort some ending forms. So when I see this, you can directly check in the lineup of the bamboo that this group here, let us call this the first block, no, the first block, because if you check it, you cannot read it like this, no, by sequence, because it will not anymore correspond to the shapes presented by Marche, no. You can read it actually in whatever orientation, but when you are writing it, you will see that you are writing in this specific form, in this specific standing, wherein the first block that I am saying, this one, you can see, corresponding to this, is really the opening. No, it's really the opening. So I was thinking that maybe this is a kind of poetry. So that's one possible assumption or constraint. No? You have to ask, what is this about? And you always have to open with some assumptions, like maybe this is poetry, maybe this is not poetry. If it is poetry, it should be in a measured form, and this is really measured. There are 4 syllables here, matched with another 4 syllables. No? So if you start with that, then you can proceed further. But at this point, I think I have introduced already the script. And after that, we will have some interaction on the reading. So I will open again another set of slides. So Christina, I think I'm through with my first part.
Sige, Myfel, just keep going with the work with the
Okay, so doon na tayo sa reading, no?
Yes.
So basically, what we are to wrap this segment part, when we are looking at this object that is of our concern at present, we're thinking that for many, they always relate to the Baybayin script as if they are floating scripts. And I think now that we have a form of the script that is quite old, at the turn of the century, in a bamboo object with script, we can actually more or less maybe popularize the idea that we have to imagine our Baybayin script in a non-book form embeddedness, no? So maybe that's the most important thing that I want to share for this. And then I have to share this one. Reading. Okay, can you see now the new screen, a new slide?
Not yet.
Oh.
Myfel, baka double click more.
Oh, you have to click it. Yan.
Makita na ba?
Wala pa.
Wait, hold on. Which screen are you going for?
This one.
Oh, wait. Stop sharing.
Stop
And then
sharing.
just share again. Wala.
Okay na ba?
Wala pa.
Oh.
I wonder why.
Hold on. Let's do it again. Okay. Ito ba?
Yeah.
There.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
Very good.
Yeah, is useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Very useful. Okay. So this is maybe the elementary transcription. No, you have kawaya pa kakuliba, batiba subuwa, taba kami, nga tabawa magaya. Now the trick here is, I think visually, you can directly see that there are groupings in terms of the spatial distribution of the characters in the bamboo tube. Now, I have shown earlier that this kawaya pakakuliba forms like really a block, no? When I first saw this photo, I immediately see that it is like a measured thing, no? This one. And you can directly even see the separateness of this block if you read it in its proper uh, form when you are the one writing it. So you hold it like this, the bamboo, no? The direction is outward, no, from your body, and then you start writing from bottom up. So I would imagine that these first two lines with 4 syllables would be written as one, like couplet, no? Kawaya pa kakuliba. And then we proceeded from that inference, no? If it is a couplet in 4/4, I would expect like the next words would be like another 4/4 or 3/3, no? So that's why you have here, no? Our proposal is to also group it. If you check this one from this point onward, you can see that the distribution of the syllables are already in a elongated diagonal direction, no? Tuloy-tuloy, paakyat, no? It's not anymore divided into blocks, no?
Mm.
But you can still see some spaces, no? But I cannot measure it here in the photo, but maybe in actual we can check this, no? Batiba subuwa, and then tabakami nga tabawa magaya. There are actually I would imagine that there are actually poetic lines either in ordinary poetry or in the epic, which forms like this, no? 4/4 3/3 4/4 3, no? So okay, so this is the grouping that we proposed. And of course, next to that, you will be fitting some words, no? Actually existing words, and you get it from examining the dictionaries and other documentation of the living language. So as I shared a while ago.
May?
Okay, Sir Ricky.
Go
Hello?
ahead, Sir Ricky.
What dictionaries are you referring to?
Basically, Kalamian na Tagbanwa ang reading namin dito, Sir Ricky.
Nasa webonary?
Nasa webonary. Pero ang ginawa kasi namin like this. I also have that digitizer yung kay Sebold, no? Central Tagbanwa. So mamaya ipapakita ko ito kung ano yung mga sources ng word forms. So quite simple. In fact, okay, some backgrounder muna.
Yeah, siguro. Sorry,
when-
Myfel. Baka also for others who don't know, can you just explain the final consonant, the lack of the final consonant?
Okay.
Baka some guests are not familiar with the like the baybayin.
Oo. Yung kanina, I was giving an example about inom na document ni Marche. So you cannot put their M because walang vowel killer na to drop the like if you put M, it would be read as ma. So you have to cancel the vowel there, no? And we have a writing system. Actually, among the Indonesian and Philippine writing system, you can find that style wherein there is no vowel killer, only in the Bugis script and on our scripts. So maybe you can see the connection, no?
Yeah.
In fact, Miller was thinking that may diffusion from Bugini script to the Philippines. So that is also the one that is problematized by Romualdez. That's why he made that book precisely to prove. So para bang si Norberto Romualdez is the Lopez of Palawan. No? Alam ni Sir Ricky itong si Lopez. He introduced some reforms. So he was the one who wrote that character na parang cross to signify that if you put that cross beside the consonant, the vowel is not anymore pronounced. So you retain only the consonant. Okay, so that's the idea of a vowel killer.
Okay.
So you see, anyone, if you are a Tagbanwa in the area, sabi ni Marcie, I went upward from, ano yung river yun ay? Iwahig. So upstream of Iwahig, I was able to see these specimen writings, no? And when they write Inum, they would just write the two characters Inu, and if they write Tagbanwa, they would just write Tabanu, and everyone can read it as Tagbanwa. Everyone can read it as Inum. So they can directly by memory and by training, they can directly supply the missing consonant for Inum and so on. No? There are some examples, like I think 4 or 5 examples.
Isa pang tanong, no? How do they teach it?
Oh, si Conklin, okay. After Romualdez, 1914, Harold Conklin in I think 1940 or 1950 did an ethnographic study in the Tagbanwa area. Also, I think in the central Tagbanwa, but I cannot specify the location. So basically, our reading is in Calamian, and we don't have any ethnographic. They teach it like this, no? They start with the U, A, I, no, the vowels, and then excuse me, para masaya yun eh, no? Sabi pa dito sa Ricky, no, you might be happy with this. They start with U, A, I, and then the succeeding consonants would be like sung, like lang, lay, lu, lang, lay, li, mang, may, mu, mang, may, mi. So
Nabasa ko yan.
So that's how they train, no? They and then sometimes, according to Marcilia y Martin, they also have to point to the. So suppose this is the character and in the bamboo, and then a left you would read it as I, like ki, and then there is an parang ano arrow ba yun yung parang character na pang suggest ng vowel. So ku, and then they will say lang, lay, lu, lang, lay, mi. So they will be tapping the side of it.
Parang
so they have a training. They have a training. No?
That's interesting. But do they do it collectively or individually?
Basic no data, because it's basically. But I have to read again, Sir Ricky, because I read only Marcilia and Martin and Marcie 2 days ago. So I was very rich information. But I have to check again Conklin. I did not bother Conklin because Conklin did his ethnography way decades later after this object. So I would like to, but of course there are durable practices. So yes. I think Sonia was also raising her hand a while ago.
May I ask a brief question about the grouping? Like, if I understood it right, the writing works from bottom up and left to right. But you put together the first 4 syllables first bottom up, and then on the right column bottom up, and then you went on with the rest of the syllables.
Yeah.
So what is the reason for that? I would have thought you first go up the long line and then you add the 4 syllables in the right column. Or maybe I didn't grasp it yet properly.
Like the reason why I separated this as a block, these first two lines with four syllables, is because of its visual separation from the rest of the diagonal line.
Okay.
No? If the writer would be connecting this first line with all the rest, there would have been no separateness in spatial distribution in the bamboo.
Okay.
But
I see.
anyway, this is what we are proposing as a reading. If this is really true poetry, in the way we understand it, that's why we have this. We enumerated the first three constraints, no, expressed in question form. I will be showing it in the screen later. But first, this could be poetry or this could be like prose. But during this period, even if you read, for example, William Henry Scott, there is lesser probability that people will be writing prose form, like the one documented by in the 1990s. Nicole Revel did her study in the southern Palawan, because they are using now the script in the paper. They are actually using it in the way we usually write it, like someone wrote to another person in another town, trying to borrow rice. Like, can you lend me one gantang of rice? Written in the script. But what is the probability that you would be writing prose and message form in this bamboo, in this turn of the century? So we said, yeah, maybe we just have to go with Scott. Now, if this is poetry, this should be measured, no, because it's beautiful. No, that's how they look at beauty measurement. And then if it is measured, they have usually tricks called pugsampal, no, like parallelism. It is documented in quite within Southeast Asia. I think the first volume that discussed this is by Fox, and then we found some finer details in our own study of the epic. And what is the detail that is missed by Fox is that best poetry can actually be reshuffled, and they still retain the sense. So I would say that is the third constraint. When you start with assuming that this is poetry, then you go to the next assumption that this is measured, and then you go to the third assumption, wherein this should follow the style of Philippine poetry in the old form, wherein you can actually reshuffle the lines and they still retain the whole meaning. So that's the idea. So even if you read this one, tuloy-tuloy, it should not distort the whole sense of your reading. So in our paper that we made together with Aya, we tried to show that, no, how do you reshuffle it and still keep the same sense. But of course, these three like parameters, or these three constraints, they can accommodate other word forms. No, they can accommodate other word forms. They can actually accommodate other measures. No, but with the proviso that you really have to explain if you move beyond kawayapa, and then you would say maybe it's measured like 5, 5, or 5, 4 or what. You have to match it with the usual measurement in our poetry. No, but the closest thing for checking this should be with the one closest to the proposed site. No, but if we don't have data on that, maybe you do comparison. That's what we are doing. No, we extrapolated our Manobo data on this, but the better way is really to check this with the Palawan poetry, the closest to the period. No, but the reason why we are more confident with our Manobo data is that if you check the different epic measurement, they would be more or less like this, like 7 or 8, and you divide it, you will have 4, 4. Sir Ricky.
Myfel,
Oo.
do they memorize their poems?
They do. Bale, in Manobo, Sir Ricky, that's why I was thinking that when people first encountered writing, what cognitive resources were they using habitually when they started writing? They would always take it from the habits of constructing good phrases. No, good phrases. In fact, among the Pantaron Manobo, one example, I was asking one chanter if, aside from the term pangutob, which is the term for tattooing, do you have other synonym for pangutob? And then suddenly he said, yes, there is patik. And you can, and then she directly sang to me 2 lines in the epic with that word patik. So like it's like a recorder. So, but the most important thing is that children would sometimes use phrases that when you are familiar with the epic, you would say that, oh, it's taken from a line in Manoloron, because these are really beautiful line. So that is also the beginning when you want to learn the epic. You start with shorter forms. Shorter forms like this one, kawaya pa kakuliba maybe. And then you keep on repeating it while ang tawag doon, yung ginakuan mo yung kapatid mo, you're ginaduyan ba? Ano? Putting them to sleep.
Lullaby.
Oh, lullaby. So many of these lullaby actually are just segments of the epic. So I would presume that when they started writing, that is the reason why when you start to see first 2 characters, you will be able to predict the phrase. No? So there are really ways other than using danda separators, no? For users of this bamboo with script to be workable, no? To be workable. And kumbaga it's we keep on laughing, Aya and me, when we were reading either Lopez or Romualdez, because these are outsiders and they would try to reform the text. And I would say maybe the closest to this is when you are a Roman Catholic and you see a misspelled word like I believe in God, like C. I believe in God, the Father Almighty. Directly you cancel the C, no? You replace it with G because you know it's I believe in God. So there is really no need for reforming, because there's a certain line there when Romualdez said that he would like to correct this one with ribbon because the 2 shapes are confusable, as if like C and G, no? So I would like to in other words,
Myfel,
Siguro
what you're
Myfel.
saying is
Go ahead.
what you're saying is those symbols are a guide to orality.
and vice versa, Sir Ricky, no? And vice versa. Historically, I would also say that the transitioning from orality to literacy would be working along the habitual resources of the phrases in the epic, because they are used to that. And then when they also have this literate form, but non-book type, no, they might also be working like mnemonic device, no. But
Myfel, maybe we should.
yeah.
Myfel, sorry, we don't. Baka we need to go to your analysis.
Oo. Basta kami ni Sir Ricky kasi. Anyway, can I just say this? Na the reason why we are doing this, like sometimes if you read the studies of Indonesian writing, they have produced lots of books. No? It's more formalized. Now, the status of our Baybayin studies is a bit like an ancillary discipline, no? Not yet a
Yes,
full
yeah.
science. No? So
Mm.
that's why like more morsels like this, we really have to save, because we don't have as many data as the bamboo surviving bamboo with script in Indonesia. No, that's
Mm.
why I'm very happy when when Christina shared this to us, because I said, oh wow, this is the first time that I see in actual and on 1900 bamboo with script. I always see the baybayin already presented in Doctrina Christiana in books. No, in the book.
Vanessa was just mentioning in
Oh,
the Frankfurt Museum,
oh.
there's a bamboo stick with a baybayin in it. I'm not sure how old it is, Vanessa, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe that's just
yeah.
something else to
So even if we only have this and another one,
yeah,
these are
yeah,
very important.
yeah.
It should give us an idea that we should delink the script from the book. No, it's
Mm,
better
yeah.
lodged in bamboos and, and other
Yes,
non-book culture, and it has a big implication on how we
mhm,
relate to our text. No,
yes.
okay. Sorry. Okay, so ito na yung aking reading. Kawayan. Okay,
Mhm,
so there is an en added. Alam nila yon when they see kawaya. No, it should be
mm,
kawayan. No, and kakuli. No, and then bagtik, subuwaw, tagbak, kami, nga. No, tagbanwa. No, this is also the reason why we are more or less consistent with the idea that if this is really Northern Kalamnian, Northern Tagbanwa, I mean, then then it goes to reasoning why it is written like Tabawa and not
yeah.
Tabano, because we already are constrained by the Tagbanwa read right in the central Palawan, writing it as Tabano. No?
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah, parang gano'n. And then Maganyat and then Paba. Now, there is always a possibility because we are I don't know how many steps distant from the users of this Bamboo with script. So we are trying to guess, no? But if we are members of that community, we would directly read it, no? Because we are used to seeing succession of script like this, like Tabawa. We already know what is it about. But I think if you fit it with central Tagbanwa words, which I think depending on the range of your vocabulary, you can also match it because there's some elbow room for fitting coherent sense, no? Then you cannot anymore use the succession of Tabawa for Tagbanwa because you are already constrained by the data coming from Marshe. No?
Mm,
Okay, so basically our claim is that you have these word forms. Kawayan, kakuli, bagtik, subuwaw, tagbak, kami. So there are 9 word forms and 2 articles, Sir Liki. And then merong dalawa dyan na nag-repeat na ba. No? And then there is maganyat na may affix na ma. Ganyat is in the entry of the dictionary. But in the example of the actual words, you can also see the maganyat form. Same is true with subuwaw, no? And so on. So basically, all these words, word forms, and these 3 articles pa and then 2 ba, they are all in Kalamnian dictionary. No? So medyo para bang you have this, you have to fit word forms on this. No? You would not be problematizing what word forms to fit on this if you are a member of that community. But because we are a distant away from that community, then that's why that's the reason why we keep on doing it like as if we are guessing and we are like
mm, mm, yeah.
so these are the sources. basically I was using the sources 1, 2, 3, basically 3, no? A big list of lexical items from SIL, Tagbanwa Kalamian Dictionary. I think there's no date for roots, but this is like I think 80 to 90 pages of sample sentences of Kalamian Tagbanwa. And these Aguilar and Aguilar are stories, no? Stories. So practically all this only three pool, no, to get possible word forms. Okay, now so this is the translation, no? So kawayan pa, kakuli ba, bagtik ba, subuaw, tagbak kami nga tagbanwa. Ano ba nito? And then maganyat, no? Still of this bamboo, difficult really, linked together really, so take risk. We are true, and you Tagbanwa, come with us. So para bang parang prosopopeia, no? Ang tawag, it's like the bamboo itself talking to the hearers. That like maybe the spirits of the bamboo, we are true, and come with us, act with us. No? Medyo cute, no? but
cool.
Okay, so we check it, no? Suppose you apply the pugsample rule, wherein, so you see this, you label it, no? Because the pugsample is that they sometimes pair as couplet. What can also, two couplets here, no? Ito couplet. You can reshuffle it because sometimes this first, this B, is repeated in its sense in the third line, no? And this one, difficult really, repeated in the sense on the second line is repeated in the fourth line. And what do you mean by repeated? Sometimes by the same word, no? I'm using the resources from the epic, no? I will not dwell so much on this. We have a recorded lecture. I reference it in the paper that we have with Aya. A careful presentation of how pugsampal is really working, no? Doon sa saan kayo yun, Aya? Sa Ufok, no? Sa Hawaii na conference 2 months ago. So, but basically this is a simple form, no? This is BA. You will have a reshuffling in which AA and BB is the sequence, no? Difficult really, so take risk. So makita mo na dito that difficulty and taking risk go together, and still of this bamboo linked together really, no? Maybe where is the repetition of sense in still of this bamboo and linked together? If you know how bamboos are growing up and collectively in one place and like
each node.
Oh, it's node. So you can
is
see
a
the
bamboo.
idea of being linked. No, I don't know, but I'm just working by intuition here. That they make sense. They are not ruining the whole structure. No, so there is one pugsampal reshuffling here possible. So I would say that we are trying to make explicit the assumptions that we carry when we do reading, and any other reading should also have that explicitness, no, in the assumption, so that people can more or less check, no? Because at present we can only have approximations because we are not anymore fish in the water of the community that have been using this bamboo with script.
So, Myfel, are you familiar with this kind of personification, or I guess it's the bamboo addressing itself?
Yung prosopopeia?
Okay. Is that a poetic technique found
Yes,
in
of course.
other?
If you read any like Manuel has a tuwaang attends a wedding. The travel from Arakan to Lanao was accompanied by an animal, and they
Dito.
the animal was talking to the hero. And there is a very nice example of a battle. No, not Tuang. By Makiso. I think you are familiar with the Makiso's Ulahingan, but this is the second book of Ulahingan, where there was this about the man without breath. That the succeeding section, maybe like 30 pages, one specific standalone section wherein there are two combatants, and you read it carefully, there are actually no physical combats going on. There is simply a shield planted on the ground, another shield planted on the ground, and the shield are talking to each other like, anong tawag yun? Yung parang jousting. Yung parang away ganin, usually Fernando Po Jr. na parang bago magpatayan, magmurahan muna. Like these are wooden shields, talking to each other.
Yeah.
So that's it. So okay, finally, this is my final slide. We are proposing that a way to maybe doing some inference, on because we are face to face with an object wherein we have very small data. So we have to do some inference. And the inference, how do we do the steps for inferencing? You have to make explicit the constraints. So like if you are constrained by its structure as a poetic form, then do all the succeeding implication of that. If you say, maybe this is not poetry, maybe this is just carrying some message like manghiram ako ng gantang ng kuan. Okay, so do it, no? And fit the words for that. And if you can check if there is a coherent sense, it can be embedded in its time. Yung sinulat namin ni Bowman sa book na how to check whatever proposed reading, lexical simplicity and coherence, historical embeddedness, because we already know more or less the period wherein this object existed, and sociological mapping. You have to fit with the ethnographic habits, of that place wherein you are embedding this object. But yung sociological mapping is quite broad, no? So we want to refine further the constraint, no? So this one is the one we are proposing. So how do you embed, a message? So you have at least to choose, is it poetic or non-poetic? If poetic, then it must be measured. So that is the second one. If measured, it should go with the multiple pairing technique that is usual in the Philippines. That is what we are calling in Manobo as pugsampal, no? Or by outsiders as parallelism. And then the fourth, which for us is, I think, very important. You have also to make a sense, what kind of object is this? No? What usually are contained as messages when you have objects like this? Is it more about religion or more about economics and politics? Now, that's why we are very interested with Fox, who did an ethnography on how do Balinese actually relate to their script of Aksara, because he said, maybe this is the time to really foreground. There are two conflicting conceptions of writing. No, I'm now reading here. So this one concept of writing is you simply think of scripts as carriers of information, and information for giving more ideas to people or for converting them to some views, or you think of it like a living character, like an image. So you have to relate it with other things within that culture. Yun ang magandang point. You have to appreciate the clarity of Fox's positioning of these two different modes of relating to what writing is about. A bamboo with Tagbanwa Kalamian script and poetry appears to adumbrate a practice that is not so far from what Fox described as script ecology that is allied to a different articulation of agency, life, and matter. No?
Mm.
Now, needless to say, all these are assumptions. You can also take the alternate proposition that the form can be non-poetic, the poetry can be non-measured, the lines can have other forms of complex patternings other than the ones covered by parallelism, and the objects of this sort are more about politics and economy than religion. But nonetheless, the point is, there's a room for doing readings, and maybe so that our Bible studies can move forward in a more rigorous manner, we really have to think about these constraints. So yeah, so
Okay.
maybe I stop sharing and we can talk.
Yeah. So Vanessa was there's several questions in the no. Vanessa, if you want to jump in, or I could just read it, no?
I think
Sige na.
Vanessa had to leave.
Oh, Vanessa to leave.
Yeah.
So based on your Myfel, what is the most likely function of the bamboo kaya at this point in time? Of course, with all the constraints that you mentioned, no? But
yun, yung they serve as a part of their poetic practice. Maybe for teaching. There's as long as when you start thinking about poetry, then you relate it maybe with what is the actual practice related to poetry and epic chanting and memorizing in that particular culture. No?
yes, yeah.
The best way to test this is if it is really true that this is the reading and this is Kalamnian Tagbanwa, I would like to read more about ethnography on poetic practices among the Tagbanwa Kalamnian. No? Otherwise, this would just be like a floating proposal. It cannot yet land, but more or less it has some embeddedness. No?
James, would you know of any practitioners in that area? Kaya, James?
Oh, hello.
Elders.
Actually, I'm not at Tagbanwa, Calamian. I'm from Aborlan, Central Tagbanwa. So some of the words here is not familiar to me. So, and some of the words here has a different meaning in our own language. Like the
so how would you interpret it, James? Would you have your own reading?
Sorry, I'm so trying to read it. And it's so hard for me. I'm not so fluent in language. Yes.
You know, James. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, James. Maybe the one step is also to explore Arborland. There is also a probability that the language here is Arborland. So, but maybe the thing to move forward that is in the direction of also studying poetic forms in Arborland. No?
Yes, we have Oyman. That's in syllables. I think, yeah.
The reason why I am not really that hot in the actual content of the message is that there is actually a bigger thing at stake when I relate to this object with script, and that is more on the idea that for me this should contribute to the linking of our imagination of script as like in the way we read it in the books. You see, parang the dramatic the dramatic presentation of that is when you look at the character like the W when it rotated into the direction of book embedded script. No? Because many people would simply relate to the script like they relate to it like alphabets. No? So it is as much important to also see it as part of the bamboo. No? So the bamboo is as important as the script, no? And how the two are intact together. And as long as as long as this object reminds us of different possibilities of relating to writing and reading, maybe that's enough. Meaning we don't really have to know the fullest precision of what it is about, because what is that for? No, what is that for? Maybe parang chismis na lang yan ng sinaunang tao. It might, no, but anything as important as this museum object should give us a bigger appreciation of the range of like the moment you understand this, you will think twice about, for example, artificial intelligence. Like you will think that information should have a body. A script should have meaning a script in a book and a script in a bamboo are two different ways of relating to what life. So these are more important things, no? But of course we want precision. So let's just play the game of of reading it. The reason why I went to that, because when Bowman and I did this reading of the Kalatagan Path, you can actually produce 3 different coherent senses. No? Like, so what is this game for? Like, it is just a game for maybe scholars with nothing else to do.
But that is very interesting, no? The embeddedness of script in the object.
Yes,
And that's
precisely.
exactly why objects have give us a different dimension, no? To like production of knowledge in some sense, no? Or relating to these things. Some were asking, yeah, go ahead.
So the medium imposes some constraint on the script. As you can see in the actual change in the orientation of the character when it was now written in the paper, it rotated 90 degrees. No? And that is now the Tagbanwa script in the imagination of people who are reading the Wikipedia. They do not anymore remember the one described in the shape as they read it in the bamboo.
So her mind is saying they have some Tagbanwa friends that maybe they can look at it again also, no? And try to see. He says, if you want, I can connect you. So yeah, this is an ongoing conversation.
Hermine is a friend of Aya. Aya.
Oh, Hermine. Yeah.
Hi, Hermine. Nice to see you virtually. Thank you for the offer.
Ferdinand is also saying, I work in Western Aborland. Bagtik is resin, he's saying. So the imagery of joining together saturation makes sense.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Bagtik is resin.
Very nice.
But bamboo doesn't have resin, no?
No. It's from a ang tawagan yun, mga dipterocarps, no? Dipterocarps.
Also in Palawan.
So yes, even if this is only a small piece, we should value this. No?
Yeah.
For so many reasons.
Baktik.
Not only for what it is saying.
But also as a way to, in a way, reorient our direction, no? In terms of studying the scripts. Studying.
Scripts have bodies. Maybe that is the formula.
Scripts have bodies. Okay.
Scripts have bodies. What kind of body? Bamboo or book?
Yeah.
Our baybayin is fully bamboo bodied. Baybayin.
Bamboo body. I've seen also several other bamboos na in the American Museum of Natural History. I have to look again if it was Mangyan or Tagbanwa. But yeah, so that's a Hermine, we were saying, do you want to jump in, Hermine? About resin?
Yes, resin. Yeah. Agatha philippinensis is a dipterocarp, no? Yung parang juice na
Okay.
Mm.
So that's really interesting in a way, if that interpretation is true, no, that these poetic techniques that you can also study through this. You know, it's so it's just kind of anyway. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Sonia.
One more thing.
Oh,
Yes.
you
William
can.
Henry Scott has mentioned that poetic forms would have contents like expressions of love or religion. So more or less, you have those themes that might guide you when you look for words relevant to fitting into the lineup of the syllables.
Mm.
No, so yeah.
But you're saying, Myfel, that the syllables are pretty kind of, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? The syllables.
Yes, yes.
It's just a matter of looking for I guess, the end consonants and
Yes.
determining the meaning.
And sometimes you don't have, if there are actual words with just like kakuli is
Mhm.
fully
Oh yes, yeah, because it doesn't have an end
uh.
consonant. Hermione is asking, Hermione, I think you can now talk if you want to. If you, I've put all the guests as with talking permission. If you just want to jump in.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have
Hello.
done that earlier. Yeah.
Thank
Hello.
you very much for this interesting presentation. I don't think you can see me. Well, anyway, I can see you and I can hear you. I was wondering if you had any idea of an epic or a story which your translation, well, from which basically the text and the bamboo could come from.
Yeah, I don't have.
No.
Hermine, I only have in my possession right now epic documentation by Revel, but this is more on southern Palawan. I would, if I have time, I don't know if I have time. I maybe other people would explore a really good ethnography on expressive language or poetry in the Calamian area, in the northern Palawan, because this is our bet that the language here is, we really know that this is a Tagbanwa script, not Mangyan. So I'm pretty sure of that. But there are many speakers, so you have to choose. Is it the language of northern Tagbanwa or central Tagbanwa? And then if you say it is northern Tagbanwa, there are many dialects there. No? So we have to refine and refine. If what you are after is really the precise thing written there. Now that's why I'm saying that even though we don't have that precise sense, we can already benefit from this object, because this is one of very few object wherein it is having the banbayan is embedded in a different body, not anymore in the Doctrina Christiana body book form, which is the one working in the imagination of many baybayin, I don't know, fanatics, and many people who really devote time to just just studying baybayin.
Yes, it's true. I'm in Barcelona at the moment, and actually there is an association of Filipinos here. So people of Philippine origin, they are the second or third generation. And they really like baybayin, and they even organize the workshop actually to teach people how to
seems
write
like tattoo. No, it seems like a figure in tattoo. Like you can
cartas,
worship the figure alone. And one saying is that please link it with some bodies.
So I guess it's 11:35. We're over. But
Can I ask a question?
sige, sige.
Thank you, thank you for the chance. Not really a question, but just to share. I worked in Apurawan. That's Western Aburlan in Palawan as a missionary for 3 years, and I got contact with the Tagbanwas there, and I can relate, because coming also from some exposures in Mangyans, meron silang pamudpod, the so-called vowel killer. And when I talk it over with them about solving the problem, why do we have to suffer not knowing the final syllable? They said, na, we don't have that. We don't do that. So I feel like it's really an intuitive, maybe to me, because I'm an outsider, but tama yung sinabi ni doctor, because you don't have, we are distant, no? We're already away, outsider na tayo sa sphere of knowledge nila. So, but for them, it was natural. And my 2012 po, there's a dictionary by Jayo Chris that I got. Instead of having silent syllable, may nilalagay silang kung anong what the syllable that ends, for example, ara-aram, that is magsanay o mag-practice, yung M nawawala. But since ra is the last syllable na A, they will put an A, the vowel A there. So parang araan na siya. Pero I think that's to signal that there's really no M. And thanks you, Dr. Myfel, for
No, not doctor.
ano ba?
Working on it.
Okay. But I think I'll be praying for you to reach that. And last po, which excites me, because when I was working with them, they were meron silang konting collaboration with the parish. They are selling bagtik. It's a resin from the high cliffs and high trees in the forest. So parang naano lang ako na kung pinag-usapan dito yung join together, saturation. So parang I think it's an imagery also of whatever existential reality they are talking about, but using the natural world as their launching pad. So yung resin, di ba? So yun lang po. Thank you. God bless your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sir James, also.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's the obsession of the outsiders who want to know exactly what are the consonants in the end.
Yes.
But it's a good way naman. It's a segue to appreciating, the script and the workings of the script. Is there one more? And so I guess we'll end there. Feel free to contact. Oh, by the way, Myfel has a full paper on this, and we will.
Working paper.
Would you be able to share it with the attendees or later na, Myfel?
Sige, bale, maybe we can post it.
Yeah, we can just refine it with what Sir Ricky's comments earlier.
Yeah. And then maybe we can post it in.
Yeah, and then
share it to you.
sige. And then we'll definitely invite you to the Southeast Asia research if once the paper is done to
kung maayos na.
Kung maayos na. So people can read it also.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a very interesting paper, and it has all the kind of the thoughts that we were discussing today. Anyway, so we'll end there. Thank you so much, Myfel and Aya.
Salamat din kay Sonia at kay Christina.
Thank you,
Salamat
Sonia.
for the
Yes.
opportunity.
And hopefully
Thank
this
you
will
very
be
much for your thoughts and for the inspiring discussion. I hope we can continue with it. And if you need anything from our end, just let us know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Myfel. That was really it's very inspiring, I think. And hopefully we'll continue with the conversation. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Salamat
much.
sa lahat.
Salamat.